Hey everybody, back with another video. I finally cleaned out my storage unit, closed it down, and I have a ton of projects. Some I'll be getting rid of, some I'll be working on. This one I'm going to be working on, but it's not a Collins coin video game. It is a Q*bert. So let's take a look at what shape it's in, what kind of condition. It is very dirty. I've picked this up probably 8 or I don't know 7 years ago. I have no idea how long this thing's been in storage, or I've been shuffling it around from different place to different place, but it is a complete Q*bert except for that marquee. I cleaned out my storage unit, shut it down, and I have some projects to work on. I actually have another Q*bert cabinet over there. So when I picked this up, the cabinet is not in the greatest shape. It's banged up a little bit. It's got some water damage a little bit. And I had plans of, I picked that cabinet up from DJ DNS a long time ago. And I had plans on redoing it and putting it into a better cabinet. Or building a Q*bert actually from scratch using the J-Rock board. Plans, yeah. I mean, you get too many projects, you can't do any plans. But anyway, I picked up this Q*bert from an old operator, and the damage is really over here. A little bit of water damage, a little bit of swelling. But honestly, now that I look at it, and I've been doing this for a while, I have not been playing Q*bert because I've just been saving this, thinking I'm going to do something special with it. So screw that. I'm going to clean it up, get it in the basement, and try to fix these Q*bert boards. A long time ago, I actually removed some of these Q*bert boards because there was some battery damage on it. So the ones down here, I can't remember where the battery is, on this board here, and then it leaks, I can't remember. But I had removed those. Otherwise, let me turn on the light here. Otherwise, you know, it is complete, or supposedly. I've never even inspected this thing on the inside, cleaned it out or anything. I'm gonna rip it apart, clean it all out as best as I can, get any bugs and stuff out of there. Looks like it is a 4900 monitor, vertical, and we got, let's see here, the original instructions and stuff, which is cool. I'll look at that in a second. Transformer assembly. Honestly, it's not too bad, beyond this little bit of water damage down here, and I'm not going to mess with it because I've learned my lesson. Every time I tear the game apart, then I end up not getting it back together. So going to live with it, live with the patina, and just clean it up. Let's see how good we can get this thing. All right, just showing the interesting parts because I'm going to try to get through this fast. One thing I noticed is this support bracket is busted, and it goes right in there. I just noticed that. There was some Allen screws holding the marquee in, which I don't think is normal, but that is something I'm definitely going to have to address somehow. And I'm not exactly sure how. Let's see here. Yeah, it's kind of like a cross support, and so that sucks. The marquee light looks to be original, I think, but it is, it was hanging down, so it's, and there's the little bit of screen burn, which is fine. I don't mind that. This has a little crack in it, the monitor bezel, and there's some smoke plexi. The glass bezel doesn't look great, but I actually had bought something from Phoenix a long time ago, so if I don't like it as it looks in there, I'll just go ahead and put a reproduction on it. I got everything, most everything out of the cabinet, as you can see there, getting ready to clean it out. I feel that's the boring part, so like I'm just like removing stuff. So the monitor's out. It's at a very steep angle, so it's kind of interesting. They have like a little catch right here so that you can kind of prop it up and lean it on that catch there, so you can kind of like position it while you screw it in. But this was damaged, and I found these pieces at the bottom of the cabinet, so I should be able to, yeah, put that back. Whoops, sorry about that. Like put that back like that. Glue it, maybe staple it, and that goes right there. So there's some pieces where at the bottom of the cabinet, there's a better shot of that right there. I'm going to probably spread the cabinet out a little bit. There's a bracket in the back there and this bracket here, and I feel if I loosen those two, I'll be able to pull maybe the side out just enough to get that in there and then secure it, hopefully. But yeah, you can see like there's a piece missing from there too, maybe right there. I don't know. The good news is I have actually a spare cabinet, so I can actually look at it if I need to. It's right there. Let's go ahead and just look in the inside. I removed all the wiring, but left the ground straps in because they're stapled and I don't feel like removing those. I'll just clean them by hand, wipe them down a little bit. Left the knocker in, but not, I see some flaking from the bezel. I can see the paint flakes, but other than that, I don't see residue of rodents necessarily. There looks like a wet spot there. I mean, that could have been rodents in the past, but nothing like drastic. The other thing is this is loose right here. As you can see, that needs to be, I could probably reattach that or actually cut a new piece because this had some water damage on it, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to put some glue in there, clamp this thing, and maybe some staples or something. Let's see. Oh, the other thing is like the speaker shelf just slides. It's right there. It gets latched in. Whoops, like latched in right there, which is super interesting. So I got that over there. Yeah, see, like it just kind of pops, rests on that little groove there. There's a little groove right there. And then it just latches in. That's kind of weird. Why would you make it so you could remove the whole speaker panel? I don't know. Transformer. Looks like one of the bridge rectifiers is unscrewed. I don't know if that means it's bad or not. I have to test those. I'm going to clean up that transformer assembly. But wires are out, some rust and stuff. And let's see, 17,074 plays. Filming with my camera sucks. All right, that's progress so far. All right, everybody, I got this down in the basement. Actually, I cleaned up, I don't know if I filmed this. I cleaned up, for the most part, this transformer block. Not as good as a job as Troy. I will link to his video up there. He went to town on this thing on his Q-Bert. I mean, he's got some mass skill, and you know, also it has a ton of tools and paint booth and everything else to really knock out the cosmetic part of restoring a cabinet. I just don't have the patience or the skill probably at this point. But anyway, one of these bridge rectifiers were actually not screwed in, so I stole the screw from the fuse. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this and probably test this bridge rectifier out of circuit and clean it up and resolder these wires. I'm going to do that. I might film it, I'm not sure. This one is actually disconnected. And I'm also going to wire wheel with a Dremel these fuse holders and just clean them up a little bit out. I basically took everything off and just kind of sanded as best I could, you know, all the areas. I cleaned this up and put some WD-40. This Big Blue, I don't know if it's any good or not. We'll test that. And then I just removed the entire back panel off the back door, which includes having mounts for the CPU, the video board, basically the sound board, the power board. I have a Power supply rebuild kit, I think that I got from Ripdoor. I'll link to his shop. I think it's like, it's not, what is it called? Twisted Arcade or something like that, parts or something. The other thing is just highlighting some things. The filter board was badly burned, as you can see there, and the previous owner obviously bypassed the filter board for those connectors. So I will eventually get to that. One thing I wanted to mention is it says here, do not disconnect sound or speech board connector A6J1 until the 30 volt DC LED D25 on the A2 power supply board is turned off. So that's over here. There's the 30 volt. I don't have it plugged in, but this is the connector A6J1. It's only on one side of the connector. So it's a single-sided card edge there. And then I'm going to clean that up. And let's see, get some light on here. Can I get some light? Maybe not. Basically, I have a little bit of battery corrosion right here that I'm also going to clean up. So I'm not going to do all of this on film. We'll see. Power supply board, I'm going to try to see if it will power up. I tested all the fuses good and see if it will power up and work correctly for the most part. So just filming where I'm at. I got the cabinet empty and working on it in the garage for a little bit, but I need to get this powered on and see what we can get. All right, I don't know where I was filming at, but I was testing the bridge rectifiers, and if you want to put it on diode test, I just figured I'd show this real quick. I already tested some of the voltages. I went through the fuses. Every fuse was wrong. There was like 5 amp fuses in both F1 and F3. I think the only fuse that was correct, it might be this F2. And this was like a 15 amp fuse at F4, slow blow. It's supposed to be fast blow, I think, 10 amp. Actually, let me see here. This is where it shows it right here. Actually, I'll link to Charlie's video. He did a good job of, I didn't even have to look at the schematic. I just watched his video and looked at the what he was testing to kind of verify stuff. But yeah, it's supposed to be 4 amp here, 3 amp. No, 3 amp over here, which is your 6.3 volts AC. Then you have to have 2 amp right here. This was like a 5 amp. That's for the monitor. This was a 15 amp, which I think is on the 5 volt line. And then F5 is supposed to be 1 amp. That's probably for the 12 volt line or something. But anyway, to test the diodes, find your positive. It's indicated here by a little red mark, but there's also a plus mark. Put your negative lead on that. Come to both of your AC lugs. You should get about a half volt voltage drop, 0.4 to 0.8. I think Dokert did this before. And then take your positive lead to the negative. Test both AC lines. Should be fine. And then if you go positive to negative, typically you'll have a 0.8 voltage drop, negative to positive, and then over limit coming the other way. But on this one, if we test it here, here's my positive. Hopefully you can see this okay. That's good. That's good. 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 And you see I get over limit this way. Well, now it's not. And this way. But I think that's because the capacitors involved in this circuit right here. And the other thing that was happening is I was not getting continuity from here, from this leg, which goes to the fuse. See, now I am getting continuity. I had to clean up that fuse. I still need to clean up that fuse holder. So I think I'm going to power it on, and let's see if we actually get voltage now, because I think the fuse was causing me some problems, and I didn't film that part. Let's see here. Oh shit, did I just blow a fuse? Sounded crazy. Nope. Alright, let me check my auto volts. I think it was this plug here, A2J5. The white lines are your grounds. Was I getting any voltage here before? Now I'm getting 12.5 volts. I wasn't getting any voltage there before because I think of that fuse. There's basically three 12.5 volts on there. 3 lines coming off of this. We can also measure AC voltage and see what our ripple voltage is, but it's not under load. That's one thing I meant to mention to Charlie. If you're not, you can't test ripple voltage if it's not under load, because it'll look good without any load on there. See, yeah, it looks good, but that's our voltages there, and I tested all the other voltage. I'll just, watch Charlie's video if you want to see it, but I already tested the other voltages. Definitely need to clean up with a Dremel these fuse holders so they're better, because I wasn't getting any voltage even on this AC lines. This is 10 volts AC. On this bridge rectifier. And then if I go negative to positive, I can also come right across the capacitor, but $12 volts here on this bridge rectifier. Come on now, should be 6 or something. Yeah, 6.3 volts DC. Nice. So I think this is all working, and we can actually power up my power supply board, which is over here, right there. Okay, so I did Dremel the fuse holders there and cleaned them up. It got all the oxidation off of them. Double checked the fuses, and what I thought was interesting is that after I did that, my voltage reading on my unregulated 12 volt line, which I think is used to make the 5 volts, that's why it's amped at 10 amp fuse. It was reading 12.5 volts before, now it's reading 13.8. The only thing I changed was this fuse, so you can tell like it was heavily oxidized and not making good contact through the via the fuse holder. So cleaning up the fuse holder is definitely beneficial, obviously. And all of my other voltages work fine. I don't even know which ones I should be testing. Yeah, so they're good over here on the A12J1. Just check out Charlie's video. I already read mine. They look good. So let's test the power supply over here. Okay, we got, let me turn this thing here. Have it connected to the power brick. I have everything else unplugged. Power comes in here on this side at pins P1 and P2. And we're going to measure over here on P3 and P4. P4 is basically 5 volts. These first few, I think like first 6 or 7 or 8 or something like that are all ground, and then the rest of them are 5 volts. So I haven't done anything to this. I haven't even checked the fuses. Let's plug this thing in. Or no, it's already plugged in. Let's power it on. See if we get anything. We get one voltage light on, the 5 volts. Oh, helps if I turn it on to auto voltage. And we have no voltage. No 5 volts. It's only detecting AC power. We got a light for 5 volts. Only got 1.3 volts DC on the 5 volt line. So obviously that light doesn't mean jack diddly squat. Interesting. So yeah, this power supply seems jacked up. Let's take it off and see what we got. But all we have is the, can you even see it? Yeah, the 5 volt line right there. That's lit. Nothing else is lit. So let me unplug it and check it out. All right, well, I just wiggled this here and I got my minus 12. Something's going on with this connector here. See that? I don't know if you guys can see it. My 30 volt DC is not working, but I came over here to measure voltage just to make sure I was getting, good voltage coming in. I am on the 5 volt. That's the 5 volt line is 13 volts unregulated. And then on that should be 30 volts. Pins 1 and 2 on a center tap line. And now I got my 12 volt is lit up, but not my 30 volt. So let me see. Let me go ahead and connect this on. Kind of smell something heating up. There's my 12 volts. There's my minus 12 volts. $12 volts. 34 volts. I need to look at the pin 1 is supposed to be 20 volts. Pin 1. No, this is pin 1. That's not right. Pin 2 is the key. Pin 3. Pin 3 is minus 12. Okay. But that is wrong. And then pin 6, pin 7 should be 5 volts. Yeah, no 5 volts. 34 volts on the 30 volt line. I don't know if that's regulated or not. Definitely the LED is kind of messed up. So still, I'm going to take these apart and clean it up. All right, I got the power supply out. One of the things is I wanted to look at the underside of it, and you can see some burn marks here. Doesn't look great. There's the LED for the 30 volts. That's definitely jacked up, so I don't know if that's why it's not lit or something. There was something else I wanted to show. It was one of these resistors up here. The whole pad is lifted away. And I don't know why I can't see it right now. Yeah, it's that one right there, I think. I mean, it still might be making okay contact, but we gotta do something about that. I got this kit from Riptor a while ago, and it says a 2955 versus a 5879. So I don't know. And also it says it's a Toshiba 3055. I'm assuming that's good. There's been some known counterfeits on 3055s, I think, but I'm going to use it. I'm just going to go ahead and replace it. I'm just going to do the whole kit, I think. Even the caps, if I can get those in there okay. And I might replace this connector here, potentially. I don't know if I'm going to replace this connector. I'm wondering if they used this style of connector because it might be rated for higher amps than a normal, you know, whatever that is, 155, or can't remember the spacing of those, but this might be rated a little bit higher voltage wise, and that might have been why they used that. I'm not sure, or not voltage, but amp wise. All right, so I didn't test all the parts, but I did replace most of the parts on here. I replaced the caps, replaced this resistor. Actually, let me hold this up here. This thing is pretty bad. I think that is like a Zener diode D26. If I look underneath, see, it's really butchered pretty bad. A lot of heat there, so I had to scrape off some parts and get good connectivity so I could solder onto something. I replaced these all these resistors, but they all tested okay. You know, these like R22, R21, R14 was pretty burnt up. This is a tip 31. I replaced that. That's on the 5-volt line. I replaced the variable resistor. I did not replace the 78 or 79 12s because I have good -5 and -12 volts. And then I did replace these transistors. But what I figured I would do, see if there's anything else interesting here. This R20, yeah, this R31, no, R22 for the 30 volt LED. That's all it's for, is for the 30 volt LED. And it, again, was really messed up. A lot of heat, had removed the pads, and it's just some small pads there. So let me see. The only thing I didn't replace is I didn't replace U11 right here, which is on the 5-volt line. I don't know if that's bad or not. I might replace it, I'm not sure. But what I wanted to do is kind of show you here. This is the 2N5879, which I replaced with a MJ2955. Hopefully that's an equivalent or higher rating. But if you can see here, the arrow, it says, you know, it says the arrow's pointing in. So this is pointing in proudly. It's a PNP transistor versus the tip 31 is not pointing in. Not pointing in. It's an NPN resistor. And then you can check these. This is the 3055. It's an NPN. Hook up your, put your meter to diode. Red to base. And you should have a voltage drop going to the collector or the emitter, and then it should be over the limit any other direction. Like that. So that is obviously good. Now this one is a PNP, and you want to put your red to the collector, and then to base we should get a negative 0.4 drop, I would think, but we get 1.5. And then going from emitter to base, it's over limit, not getting anything, and I should get something there. So I think this is probably was our problem. It could have been more than that, but I just figured I'd test a transistor real quick. All right, we'll plug it in. I have it hooked up. Man, I hope this works. I didn't clean the fuses or double check the fuses or anything yet, and hopefully you guys can see that. You know what I think when I was wiggling this connector, I double checked the connections on the backside. There was cold solder joints all over the place. So I reflowed solder on all the connectors all over the place. Yeah, so this is 5 volts, right? P3, I think. No, P3 is like your 20 volts and stuff like that. Let's just do it. Still don't have my 30 volt light on, which is kind of weird. Let's see if we have 5 volts. Okay, need to adjust that. .8. 5.1, that's probably fine. But we definitely have good 5 volts now. There we go, 5 volts. 5 volts. You know, it says it's 20 volts, but that line 1 is 15 volts. I saw on Charlie's video, he had less than 20 volts as well. I don't know what's going on there. Negative 12. Whoops. Positive 12. Right there. I think that's ground. 30 volts right there. So we have 30 volts, but my LED is jacked. I don't know if that LED is bad or what. I might need to get a different LED. Should I do that? Yeah, I'll probably come back and fix that. I think I have a spare LED that I can use on that 30 volt line. That might be the issue, because if we come to this side, see, there's 30 volts on this side of the resistor, but the LED is not lit, either because it's not getting to ground or something else. And if I have a LED with longer legs, I can actually make that jumper, because the pads are all whacked up. All right, so cool. So yeah, and see, this is working fine. Everything's good. Got a good power supply. All right, let's do a smoke test. Power supply is good. Wired up a video right here, RGB, right on this one, and then this is horizontal and vertical sync. I have that going to my PVM monitor, so let's see if it powers on. Oh, I don't know if that's voltage is right. Maybe I have a short. I only had 1.3 volts. All right, let me troubleshoot some. I gotta make sure I'm hooked up to something that's a good power source on this PCB. All right, this is why we test power supply with the load. Got my everything's disconnected except for just the power supply. Power supply is connected. Got the PCB disconnected. Have the soundboard disconnected. Have a 5 volt load. Let's see. This is 1 ohm, so that should be 5 amps. It's rated, has a 6 amp fuse, so I guess this is fine. Just wire up one side of the resistor to your 5 volt positive, one side of the resistor to ground, and then I got my test lead on here. And we see we only have 1.3 volt. All right, everybody, I got this down in the big 1.3 volts showing there. And if I disconnect my load, 5 volts. So something is failing under load on this power supply. And I had replaced everything. The one thing is this tip 31 is getting super hot. And I don't know exactly why that is. I'll try to do this through the, this is the schematic, and we got our 11.5 volts coming into the AC. One thing is I can measure to see if the load is dropping there, and then this is the LED right here, so it has a resistor R11, so that LED is really not measuring whether 5 volts is there, it's measuring whether the 11 or 12 volt unregulated is present. So it really has nothing to do with the rest of the circuit, that LED being lit up, which is right there. That comes right in. Here's the power supply from the power brick over there. Comes into this connector, goes through this fuse this way, fuse here to there, then the resistor right here drops that so the LED will light. Then it comes over to this resistor and comes into that U11. See, you see U11 here, you have a 100 ohm 1 watt resistor, and you have basically a tip, the tip 31, which is like a power transistor, I think for amps. I'm trying to understand, linear power supplies a little bit better, but I still don't. And then you have this is the NPN right here, this tip 31. This is a PNP, this 2N5879, and this is what's generating most of the amp. It has to do with that, like this is the amperage. And I think this TL431 is a special kind of diode that kind of sets the voltage, and it has 2 inputs here, and based off of those 2 inputs it kind of like programs what the voltage should be. And that's one thing we did not replace, and I am going to replace that. I don't know if that's the problem or not, and I don't know why this tip 31 is getting so damn hot. I did replace that. This other stuff over here I think has to do with maybe like a crowbar or some other failure scenario, because it says 5.6 volt Zener diode, so if it maybe goes too high, maybe it will sink the voltage or something. I don't know. I'm guessing a little bit, but I have a feeling like these components over here are really what's most important about generating the voltage, and here this can't be a feedback thing, I don't think. So I think this has to do with like over voltage protection potentially. I'm not sure though. All right, I replaced the 30 volt LED. I think it was bad or something, I'm not sure. And I have long legs, so it made it easier to connect. I do not have my load connected, but I also replaced U11, which I probably should have done to begin with. Let's see. We got good 5 volts. Let's put a load to it. And that's not the problem. So we got some other problem where load, oh wow, look how bright that 30 volt LED is. That's crazy. I don't know why it's so bright. Might be the wrong type or something. Damn it. One thing that's interesting is if I connect the load, there we go. See, we have 12.5 volts coming to the collector of the transistor here. And if I put it on a load, or actually let me check, I'll check this. See, we have 12.6 volts coming in through the fuse. 2 volts going to the LED, 12 volts right there. Connect our load. And it doesn't drop that much, so I know the problem is somewhere in the regulation circuit. Collector of the tip 31 is 11 volts. Oh, I'm gonna have to, how am I gonna see this thing? So much heat coming off that thing. Alright, I've been probing around, trying to think about what this could be. I actually desoldered this tip 31 and tested it, and it does test fine. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on, and I'm hoping this transistor, this 2955, the PNP, is not bad. So if you can see this right here, you know, voltage is coming in into the emitter, pointing in to the base. That base goes to the collector of the tip 31, and then the base comes over here to this TL431. The emitter comes out, boom, right? And then this is the collector of the 2N5879, which I assume is good. I'm not going to pull this out yet, but if you look at this collector of that transistor, the 2N2955, or it is a 5879, it comes all the way out to the 5-volt line. So I should have continuity between the collector, yeah, and my 5 volts. Why am I not getting that? Nothing. Switch it around here. If you trace, you can't see it. If you trace from the 5-volt line right here, this whole thing is 5 volts. Comes all the way through to the, basically where the mounting points are of that transistor. So it's like these nuts here are supposed to be what makes contact with the traces that come out, and it's not really making good contact. As you can see here, if I come to that part, it does. So I don't know if that's my problem, and that resistance is causing it to like really jack up the amperage, overload it under load, and it's not putting anything out. I don't know. It's my best shot right here. So I'm going to take these 2 nuts off, clean them up, and then make sure I have good contact from the collector, the case of this transistor here, and my outputs, my 5 volt, because that also kind of feeds in here. You know what I mean? So hopefully that made some sense. All right, I took a fiberglass pencil. I'll show you in a second, because I'm going to do the same thing to the 2N3055. Yeah, that's on the 12 volt line, I think, or 30 volt line, I can't remember. But here we go. Clean, oh no, right here. That's the wrong one. Oh my god. All right, that might be in the bloopers. Took off the wrong one. Anyway, here it is. Good continuity from the collector, the case, to my 5 volts on that PNP transistor. Now, I do have good continuity here, but I'm going to, what is it, this one? But there's a little bit of resistance there. See? So what I'm going to do is take this off. This is the other transistor. I think it's on the 30 volt line. It's the 3055, the NPN. I'm going to take this off. Just taking the screws off. Fiberglass pencil. I should be more careful here and see if you can see that there definitely have some not corrosion, but oxidation. I guess that's a form of corrosion. So I'm just going to clean it up with a fiberglass pencil. That copper pad there. And then for these just the bolts here, I'm just gonna rub it on a piece of sandpaper, both sides, just to get any of the oxidation off the metal. Now you could tumble these and all that stuff. I'm just doing something quick and dirty. It's fine. And you should do this over the board, obviously. Whoops. I'm just trying to do this really quick while I'm filming, not to take up too much time. And that goes right there. Oops, you can't really see it. Now we're getting better resistance there. So you get the idea. Let's put it back together, see if that was our problem. Give it a go. My tip 31's on, power's hooked up. Do not have my load connected just yet. All right, we have 5 volts. Let's connect our load. Boom! 5 volts with the load. As long as my load's connected correctly, but I think it is. And my tip 31 is not super hot. I mean, it was steaming hot. The tip 31. I couldn't even touch this heatsink. Oh, is it getting hot? I don't know why they didn't mount that tip 31 straight to the heatsink so you could actually use this heatsink both for the tip 31. They just needed to move it over a little bit. And then you would have this big heatsink versus that little clip-on thing. That's dumb. I don't know why they didn't do that. Is my load connected? Yeah, my resistor is getting warmer. It's not hot, but it's warm. Should be pretty hot. Yeah, it's getting warm. So I know my load's working, because if not, this resistor would not get warm. I might need to get a different LED there, because that's the 30 volt line. It's super bright. All right, let's hook it up. All right, now I have game PCB hooked up. Got my voltage checker on there. I think everything's good to go. Soundboard's hooked up. Let's power on. We got weird sync issues. Boom. What the hell? Oh, something freaking weird's going on. It's got to be a weird sync issue or something. Maybe, I don't know if I'm combining the sync correctly, because my PVM is just one sync. Yes, something is not right. It's like fading out. It's weird, because it should be. But I don't know what's going on with the sync, because that's the way it should be. Hmm. So interesting. Let's see my... It's been so long since I've used my I don't know. I gotta think about the video, but the game, it seems like it's running. Well, the tag does say Q*bert board blanks out back in 1986, and if I turn this on, it's kind of like what it will do. You can see it, hopefully, somewhat. The colors are jacked up. Something's not right. Could be filter board, could be on the PCB. I'm gonna bypass that filter board here, but then boop, fades out. So something is going on the color output stages here.